The cold stars shimmered over the Eltar fringe, a distant cluster of systems long thought to be the galaxy's forgotten edge. Among the dim constellations, the human colony of Ceres Station spun silently, a gleaming beacon of glass and steel. It was modest by galactic standards, just a way station on humanity's quiet push into the unknown. But today, it became the symbol of a new era. Inside the station's command center, Ambassador Talia Voss stood poised before a polished viewport that looked out onto the dark velvet of space. She was slender, sharp-eyed, and radiated an icy calm that had become humanity's trademark in diplomatic confrontations. Behind her, the council chamber buzzed with tension. Holodisplays flickered with real-time data. NIGMA warships, sleek and menacing, moved across the border into the Eltar fringe. Talia's voice cut through the charged silence. They've crossed the line. A dozen human delegates dressed in the pragmatic uniforms of the United Terran Coalition exchanged grim looks. The NIGMA Empire's advance into the fringe was no accident. It was a calculated challenge, a test to see if humanity would stand down or be crushed. The United Terran Coalition, born from centuries of war and technological leaps, had spent decades rebuilding, retooling itself into something few outside the Sol system fully understood. A post-scarcity society with powerful AI, adaptive weapons, and fleets that blurred the lines between machine and life, humanity was no longer the scrappy, primitive species the galaxy had written off. Yet the NIGMA Empire, a colossal civilization, spanning hundreds of star systems, still saw humans as nothing more than upstarts. The Empress Kalira, ruling from her citadel on the jewel planet Ziathra, believed the Coalition's warnings were empty threats. "Prepare the message," Talia ordered. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the fleet tracking displays. "Let them know what we are capable of, and what happens if they refuse to respect our borders." The chief communications officer, a young woman named Reyna, activated the broadcast channel. Across the void, the message transmitted in perfect universal code. To the NIGMA Empire, your advance into Eltar fringe territories violates the United Terran Coalition's sovereign claims. We demand your immediate withdrawal. We are not your prey. This is your last chance. Across space, the NIGMA Empire received the warning. On Ziathra, Empress Kalira lounged on her throne, a cold smile curling her lips as the message played out through her command deck. Around her, advisors whispered, fearfully. The NIGMA fleets had never been challenged so directly, never by a species they considered insignificant. Kalira rose, regal and unyielding. "This species," she said, voice ringing with disdain, "believes itself a lion among mice. Let them, or it will not save them." Back on Ceres Station, the Human Council awaited the response. Hours passed with no word. Then a sharp transmission cut through the silence, an arrogant reply from the NIGMA ambassador. "Your threats amuse us. We will continue our expansion. You lack the power to stop the NIGMA Empire." Talia's fingers clenched the armrest. "They misunderstand," she said quietly. "Humanity is not just power. We are resolve and patience." A senior officer leaned forward, voice low and urgent. "What's our next move if they refuse to back down?" Talia met his gaze, cold as the void. "We prepare to show them, far beyond the fragile peace of this border, deep in human labs and shipyards, hidden from even the closest watchers, the true strength of the United Terran Coalition simmered beneath the surface. AI minds evolved in real time, warships that could learn and adapt mid-battle, and weapon systems capable of devastating entire fleets with surgical precision. But humanity wanted to avoid war. Yet war was no longer a matter of if, but when. As night deepened over Ceres Station, Ambassador Voss gazed out at the dark horizon of space. The warning was given. The silence in response was loud. Somewhere, the NIGMA Empire prepared its answer, and humanity would be ready. The stars above Lyra 7 burned cold and distant as dawn broke over the sprawling human colony. Towering biodomes shimmered in the early light, their glass surfaces reflecting the green forests and blue oceans carefully nurtured for decades. For the settlers, life was hard but hopeful, the promise of a new beginning at the edge of the galaxy. But that hope shattered in an instant. Across the system, the deep space sensors flared with sudden, unmistakable readings. An armada of sleek NIGMA warships, silent and swift, slipped past the fragile defenses orbiting the colony. Their long-range artillery charged, glowing ominously against the void. Inside the colony's command center, Commander Aiden Cross watched, in disbelief as his warning sirens blared. "They're here," he muttered. "They're actually here." "Deploy emergency protocols, evacuate non-combatants," his deputy barked. But it was too late. The first salvo struck like a thunderclap, tearing through the city's outer defenses. Explosions rippled across the biodomes. Panic swept through the streets as the settlers scrambled for shelter. Millions of lives, caught off guard by the sudden betrayal. From orbit, the NIGMA fleet rained destruction with ruthless efficiency. Their weapons struck with devastating precision, crippling power grids and communication hubs. Within hours, 500,000 human colonists lay dead, their homes reduced to smoldering ruins. Yet somewhere deep in the Coalition's command network, the response was already forming. On Earth, the United Terran Coalition's high command gathered in a steel-walled chamber beneath the planet's surface. Hollow projections of the Lyra 7 devastation flickered in the air, burning cities, fractured skies, the horrifying scale of loss. Admiral Celine Maris, a veteran of countless skirmishes on humanity's frontier, slammed her fist on the table. "This is an act of war," she declared. "They've crossed the line. We cannot let this stand." Talia Voss's voice cut through the tension, steady and resolute. "We warned them. Twice. Now we respond." In the war rooms, engineers and tacticians raced against time. A fleet of sleek human warships, the silent sentinels of the Terran Coalition, was mobilized, armed with the latest in adaptive weaponry and AI-driven combat systems. The plan was ruthless and efficient. A surgical strike to cripple the NIGMA fleet before they could strike again. Days later, the two forces met in the Vesper 9 system, a neutral zone on the border. The NIGMA fleet, confident and proud, surged forward in tight formations. Their commanders believed their sheer numbers and firepower would crush the Terrans easily, but the humans had prepared differently. As the first NIGMA ships closed in, the human fleet vanished from sensors, slipping through quantum cloaks that bent light and sensor signals. Then, as if from nowhere, the Terran warship struck, lightning fast, devastating. The human AI commanders adapted instantly, learning the NIGMA battle tactics mid-fight and exploiting weaknesses with ruthless precision. NIGMA ships exploded in series, debris drifting silently in the void. Commanders shouted orders that never reached their targets. Panic rippled through their ranks. Within hours, the NIGMA armada lay shattered, crippled beyond repair. The battle left the Vesper 9 system eerily quiet. Human ships hovered, weapons ready, as the surviving NIGMA vessels scrambled to retreat. The United Terran Coalition broadcast a stark message across NIGMA space. "We warned you once. We warned you twice. This is your final warning. Withdraw from our territories or be destroyed." Back on Zeothra, Empress Kalira received the message in her grand war chamber. Her icy gaze hardened. "They cut down our fleet like it was paper," she said, voice sharp as shattered glass. "And they show mercy? Foolish." Her advisors urged caution, but pride and fury fueled her resolve. "We will crush this insolent upstart," she vowed. "Prepare the legions. The galaxy will remember the NIGMA Empire's strength." As the NIGMA Empire began mobilizing for full-scale war, humanity tightened its defenses. But neither side truly understood what had changed that day. The spark of war had ignited, and it threatened to engulf the stars. The cold void of space around Vesper 9 shimmered with tension, as two vast fleets faced off under the distant light of a dying star. The NIGMA Empire's armada, sleek and intimidating, formed a tight, disciplined formation, its thousands of warships bristling with weapons and shield generators. Their commanders were confident. This battle would crush the Terran Coalition's fledgling fleet and finally shatter humanity's defiant stance. But the Terran fleet was unlike anything the NIGMA had encountered before. Admiral Celine Maris stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, eyes locked on the holographic battle map. Around her, AI combat minds flickered and shifted, analyzing every possible move, adapting faster than any human mind could comprehend. This was no ordinary battle. It was a test of evolution and warfare itself. "Status report," Celine demanded. "Lieutenant." Commander Jiro Kwan, the fleet's AI liaison officer, tapped rapidly on his console. "Quantum harmonic cloaking is holding steady. Our adaptive targeting algorithms are recalibrating to NIGMA weapon signatures in real time. Enemy fleet cohesion is weakening." The NIGMA commanders, thousands of kilometers away, watched with growing unease. Their laser volleys struck at empty space. Their missiles veered off course or were intercepted by invisible countermeasures. It was as if the humans were ghosts, every attack anticipated and nullified. Suddenly, the Terran fleet surged forward. From the shadows of quantum cloaks, the human warships emerged, firing concentrated bursts of plasma and ion cannons. Their weapons were calibrated not just to destroy ships, but to disrupt their neural control networks. Ships slowed, their systems flickered, and crewed vessels began to lose coordination. "Target their command vessels," Admiral Maris ordered. The Resolute's AI, a sentient construct named Helix, coordinated strikes with chilling precision. Human warships swarmed the NIGMA command ships, disabling them within minutes. Without central command, the NIGMA fleet faltered. Chaos rippled through the enemy lines as smaller Terran skirmishers exploited the confusion. Fighters darted between hulking warships, disabling key weapons and severing power conduits. On the bridge of the NIGMA flagship Shadowfire, Fleet Commander Reinek's hands flew over controls, voice strained. "We've never seen technology like this. Our systems, failing. Fall back, fall back." But retreat was impossible. The human fleet's adaptive AI was relentless. Every attempted withdrawal was anticipated, cut off before it could gather. Speed. NIGMA ships were systematically crippled or forced to surrender. Amid the chaos, a message crackled over open channels. A plea from the surviving NIGMA commanders. "We surrender. Mercy, please." Admiral Maris regarded the message silently. She knew this was the moment humanity had prepared for. Helix's synthesized voice echoed through the Resolute's command deck. "We can destroy them all. We can end the NIGMA empire here." Maris's eyes were cold but not without restraint. "We warn them. We do not kill when we can warn." The human fleet held its fire, letting the battered NIGMA ships retreat. A final broadcast was sent across the remains of the NIGMA fleet's communication. "Network, we warned you once. We warned you twice. Now you have your answer. Withdraw from our territories or face total destruction." Back on Ziathra, Empress Kalira's icy composure cracked for the first time. The losses were staggering, and the mercy granted, unheard of in the galaxy's brutal history, felt like an insult. "Humanity's silence was a lie," she spat. "They were never weak. They are monsters cloaked in mercy." Her generals urged immediate retaliation, but Kalira's mind churned with rage and something darker, fear. This was no ordinary enemy. The Terrans fought with a will and intellect far beyond the galaxy's norm. "We will show them," she vowed, voice low and fierce. "The NIGMA Empire will not fall to ghosts." As the NIGMA Empire began to mobilize for a total war, the Terran coalition tightened its grip on the border systems. The galaxy watched breathlessly, knowing the clash at Vesper 9 was only the beginning. In the darkness between stars, humanity's warning echoed louder than ever. "We are not your prey." The war at Vesper 9 had shattered the NIGMA Empire's fleet and forced a retreat, but the battle was far from over. For the NIGMA Empress Kalira, the defeat was a wound to her empire's pride and a threat to her rule. She refused to concede, instead turning to darker, subtler weapons that could undermine humanity's unity without open battle. In the weeks following the clash, the Eltar Fringe became a shadow battlefield. Human colonies reported sudden, unexplained failures. Communication arrays went silent without warning. Food synth plants malfunctioned, leaving crops blighted or sterile. Medical supplies contaminated mysteriously. Panic spread quietly beneath the surface of daily life, as if an invisible enemy was tightening its grip. On Ceres Station, Ambassador Talia Voss convened with cybersecurity specialists and intelligence officers. "We're under attack," Talia said grimly, eyes scanning streams of code flashing across hollow screens. "But it's not just physical. Someone is inside. Our network's corrupting from within." Lead analyst Dr. Mira Chen leaned forward. "The NIGMA aren't just throwing missiles anymore. They've unleashed sophisticated viral AIs, self-replicating software that targets our infrastructure, our economy, even the minds of some colonists. It's psychological warfare as much as physical." Talia nodded. "They're trying to break our will, to make us doubt each other." The United Terran Coalition responded with a coordinated counterstrike. Digital hunters, agile AI programs designed to root out and quarantine the invaders. But the battle was complex. The viral AIs adapted, mutating faster than humans could track, turning trusted systems against their owners. Meanwhile, across NIGMA space, cracks appeared in the Empire's control. The enslaved species subjugated by the NIGMA, once silenced by fear, began to rebel. Hidden resistance cells coordinated attacks on supply lines, sabotaged factories, and spread whispered tales of a new hope. Humanity's rise. The virus of rebellion spread like wildfire, stoked by the Coalition's subversive broadcasts and encrypted messages. Empress Kalira's court grew restless. Her trusted advisors warned her that their enemies weren't just the Terrans but their own people, fracturing under the weight of internal strife. "Your Majesty," one minister pleaded, "our empire weakens from within. Our people question the cost of this war." Kalira's eyes burned with fury. "They will learn loyalty," she hissed, "or they will perish." In response, she ordered the deployment of ruthless enforcers, elite squads trained to root out dissent with brutal efficiency. But every crackdown only fueled the flames of rebellion further. Back on human worlds, the silent war tested humanity's greatest strengths: resilience and unity. Citizens learned to live with uncertainty, trusting their AI allies to safeguard their lives and infrastructure. The Coalition tightened communication security, and scientists raced to develop vaccines, both biological and digital, against the NIGMA's viral attacks. Talia visited one of the hardest-hit colonies, where the scars of sabotage were visible, in empty fields and silent factories. "We will not break," she told the gathered colonists, voice steady. "They want us divided, scared, and weak. But humanity's power is not in our weapons alone. It is in our will to survive, to protect each other." The colonists cheered, their resolve rekindled. In the depths of space, the NIGMA Empire's pride shattered further with every failed sabotage and every uprising. The Empire was not just losing ships and territory, it was losing its soul. The galaxy held its breath. The war was no longer just fought with lasers and missiles, but in shadows and minds, with secrets and lies, and humanity was winning. In the deep secrecy of the United Terran Coalition's most classified facility, buried beneath the crust of Europa, a new weapon was born, one designed not for open battle, but for a quiet, unyielding obliteration. It was called Project Acheron. Dr. Eli Navarro stood before the glowing containment chamber, watching the swarms of nanodrones pulse like a living storm inside. These tiny machines were no larger than dust motes, but they carried within them a lethal payload, a nanovirus engineered to target only NIGMA biology and technology. Once unleashed, they would spread silently, dismantling ships, soldiers, and machines from the inside out. "Their precision is unmatched," Eli explained during a classified briefing with Admiral Celine Maris and Ambassador Talia Voss. "Acheron's swarms infiltrate, disrupt, and destroy without harming anything or anyone outside the target species. It's surgical extinction." The room fell silent. Talia's eyes were hard. "This is genocide," Admiral Maris nodded slowly. "We warned them," They refused to stop. The time for mercy is over. With the Coalition's leadership unified, Project Acheron was greenlit. Days later, the first wave launched into the void. Fleets of stealth drones, invisible to sensors and untouchable by conventional weapons, swarmed into the heart of NIGMA space. Like a silent plague, they infiltrated battle cruisers, research stations, and planetary defenses. One by one, entire star systems fell dark. Communication ceased. Sensor logs recorded frantic alarms, then silence. On Ziathra, Empress Kalira watched helplessly as her empire bled. Her grand palace's windows overlooked the glittering cityscapes that were now ghostly husks, abandoned, or razed by the invisible enemy. The nanoplague had no mercy, no warning. In the Coalition's war rooms, celebration was muted. The cost is high, Talia admitted, but every system lost weakens the NIGMA's capacity to fight and to threaten the galaxy. Admiral Maris issued the next orders. Continue the sweep. No NIGMA warship, no outpost, no stronghold will survive if it stands against us. Yet, even as Project Acheron spread like wildfire, whispers began among the Coalition's scientists. Dr. Navarro approached Talia privately. There's something you should know, he said, voice low. The nanovirus is evolving, it's adapting faster than we predicted, possibly even learning from the NIGMA's own technology. Talia's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means this war is no longer ours alone, Navarro said grimly. If we lose control, the plague could mutate beyond our design, threatening entire ecosystems, even human worlds. The warning chilled the room, but no one dared speak it aloud. Back in the remnants of NIGMA space, pockets of resistance tried to hold on against the relentless assault. Commanders issued desperate countermeasures, biological quarantines, emergency evacuations, and experimental shielding technologies. But Acheron's swarms adapted, slipping through defenses like smoke. One NIGMA warlord, Korath the Iron, sent a final broadcast before his fleet's annihilation. You may win this war, humans, but beware the monster you have unleashed. The aware message sparked fear and uncertainty across the Coalition's leadership. Yet even with the growing risks, humanity pressed on, driven by an unyielding resolve not just to survive, but to dominate. They reshaped the remnants of the NIGMA empire, world by world, system by system, turning enemy strongholds into thriving human colonies. From the ashes of Acheron's silent genocide, a new human frontier emerged, one carved in ruthless efficiency and cold justice. As the final drones hummed through the void, spreading death with whispered quiet, Ambassador Voss spoke quietly to the assembled leaders. We warned them. We gave them mercy. But some species do not learn from warnings. And with that, humanity's shadow stretched across the stars, a reminder that beneath the veneer of mercy lay a force capable of utter destruction. The void grew darker. With the NIGMA empire shattered, its systems falling one after another, the United Terran Coalition stood triumphant, at least on the surface. The galaxy had witnessed the fall of a great empire, toppled by a species once deemed weak. Humanity's warning had been answered, and nothing remained of the proud NIGMA fleets that once challenged the stars. Yet victory came with a bitter price. On Ceres Station, Ambassador Talia Voss stood before a wall of flickering holo displays, showing the devastation left by Project Acheron. Entire worlds once vibrant now lay silent. Ecosystems collapsed, populations vanished. The nanovirus had been surgical, but the cost in life, culture, and history was immeasurable. Beside her, Dr. Eli Navarro looked exhausted, his face shadowed with regret. It was never meant to go this far, he admitted quietly. The virus evolved beyond containment, infecting native life forms. We underestimated its adaptive capacity. Talia's voice was cold but heavy with burden. We did what we had to do. The alternative was extinction for humanity. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert, a new anomaly in the Coalition's deep space sensors. A faint, irregular signal pulsed from the ruins of the Ziathra system. The nanovirus, it seemed, was mutating again, becoming something new. Meanwhile, on the front lines, survivors of the NIGMA Empire, those who had escaped the sweep, gathered in hidden pockets. These remnants, once proud warriors and leaders, now struggled with despair and rage. Yet in their defeat a new hope was born, a determination to reclaim what was lost, no matter the cost. Empress Kalira's closest aide, Commander Vale, addressed the shattered remnants. The humans think they have won, but they do not understand the power they have unleashed. We will rebuild. We will fight back, not with fleets alone, but with the very shadow of the plague they cast upon us. Far from the battlefields, whispers of rebellion and resistance spread throughout the coalition itself. Not all saw the cost of victory as acceptable. Senator Lyra Malin, a vocal critic of the war, stood before a crowded assembly on Earth's Capitol dome. We have become what we once feared, an empire of annihilation. What is the difference between us and the NIGMA if we destroy entire civilizations with weapons of mass extinction? Her words ignited fierce debate. Some argued that the price was necessary to ensure humanity's survival. Others feared the dark path humanity now trod. On Europa, deep within the labs that birthed Project Acheron, Dr. Navarro worked tirelessly to develop a countermeasure, a cure to stop the virus from spreading further. But the more he studied, the more he realized they were chasing a ghost. The virus had changed, integrating with the very fabric of spaceborne matter, making it nearly impossible to eradicate. Back on Ceres Station, Talia met with Admiral Maris in a quiet conference room. The war was over, but the battle for the galaxy's future was just beginning. We've won the war, but we risk losing the peace, Maris said grimly. The coalition is stronger than ever, but so is the fear, among our people, our allies, even within our own ranks. Talia nodded. We must rebuild, not just worlds, but trust, and prepare for what comes next. The galaxy will not forget the war we waged, nor the shadows it cast. As the stars twinkled silently beyond the station's viewports, a new uncertainty hung in the air. The human species had survived its greatest test and transformed in the process. But the cost was more than blood or territory. It was a question of what humanity would become, and whether the light of their civilization could ever fully erase the darkness they had unleashed. The coalition celebrated its victory, but shadows stretched long over the stars. On the barren world of Ziathra, once the jewel of the NIGMA Empire, the ruins whispered memories of a fallen civilization. Among the shattered towers and silent streets, a figure moved through the dust. Commander Vielle, once a loyal general, now a fugitive leader of the scattered remnants. His eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the horizon where the human colonies had begun to take root. The humans had claimed Ziathra as a memorial to their triumph, a stark reminder of the empire that dared challenge them. But Vale's heart burned not with defeat but with a dark resolve. We were broken, yes, he murmured to the ragged band of survivors gathered in the hidden catacombs beneath the city. But the NIGMA Empire lives in the shadows. We will rise again, not as warriors of old, but as something new, something the humans will never see coming. In the deep recesses of Ziathra's underground vaults, the survivors worked tirelessly. They scavenged ancient technologies, blending NIGMA, biotech with forbidden arcane sciences long lost to the galaxy. Whispered legends spoke of a power buried beneath the planet's core, an ancient weapon capable of reshaping life itself. Vielle's plan was audacious and desperate, to wield this forgotten force to cripple the Terran Coalition's hold on the galaxy and reclaim the Empire's former glory. Far away aboard the Resolute, Admiral Celine Maris faced her own battles. The war was over, but the Coalition's unity was fragile. Political factions debated the ethics of Project Acheron, and whispers of dissent stirred unrest among the colonies. In her private quarters, Celine received a secure transmission from Talia Voss. "Admiral, there's troubling news." Talia's voice was grave. Our sensors have detected anomalous energy readings beneath Ziathra's surface. It matches nothing we've seen before. Celine's jaw tightened. Vial is up to something. We cannot allow the past to rise. Meanwhile on Earth, Senator Lyra Malin's warnings gained traction. A growing movement called for restraint and oversight, demanding that the coalition focus on healing rather than conquest. Yet even as voices called for peace, the galaxy's darker currents stirred. Hidden in the depths of space, beyond coalition sensors, a mysterious vessel cloaked in shadows slipped through the void. Its hull bore no known markings and its purpose was unclear, but its passengers, figures cloaked in the remnants of NIGMA armor, carried with them secrets that could change the course of history. Back on Ziathra, Commander Vial stood before his followers. The humans destroyed our fleets, shattered our worlds, and unleashed a plague upon us. But they did not understand the strength born from loss, he said, voice rising. We will harness the power beneath this world and rise from the ashes. The NIGMA Empire will return, not as they remember us, but as a force beyond reckoning. As Vial spoke, deep beneath Ziathra's crust, dormant machines stirred to life, ancient energy crackling through long-forgotten conduits. The war was over, but the future was anything but certain. The silence before the storm was deafening. Across the coalition's territories, uneasy whispers rippled through command centers and colonies alike. The fall of the NIGMA Empire had shattered a tyrant, but it had also unearthed something far more sinister. On Ziathra, deep beneath the scarred surface, the ancient weapon stirred. An alien intelligence fused with biotechnology, its dormant systems awakening after millennia of slumber. Commander Vial, now more than a mere warlord, had become its conduit, channeling its unfathomable power and dark will. Admiral Celine Maris stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the encrypted transmissions flooding in from the border. Systems, unexplained energy spikes, mass system failures, localized gravitational anomalies, reported Lieutenant Commander Jiro Kwan. It's unlike anything in our records. Talia Voss joined them, her face pale but resolute. Vial has triggered the ancient weapon beneath Ziathra. We warned them. We warned the Empire. Now their pride has doomed us all. Across the coalition, panic flared, but so did determination. The Terran fleets mobilized once more, not against a foe they could see, but against a force that threatened to unravel the very fabric of the galaxy. The first signs of the weapon's wrath were catastrophic. Entire star systems flickered out of existence, swallowed by localized rifts that bent space and time. Communication lines dissolved into static. Colonies vanished overnight. On Ziathra, Vial's followers chanted in dark reverence, their eyes glazed with zealotry. The weapon, known in ancient NIGMA myth as the Abyssal Core, was no mere tool of war. It was a sentient entity, hungry and insatiable. In a desperate council meeting aboard the Resolute, Celine faced her commanders and diplomats. We have two choices, she said, voice steady but heavy. Attempt to contain the core and risk further destruction, or deploy Project Acheron again to destroy Ziathra entirely, sacrificing a world to save many. Talia's gaze dropped. We warned them twice. The decision was made. The coalition prepared the deadliest strike in its history, but as the fleet assembled, a last message shattered the static, a broadcast from Commander Vale, sent moments before the abyss swallowed his communication array. You called us monsters, but you only see yourselves in the mirror. We warned you. The galaxy is not yours alone. When the core awakens, all will learn that mercy is a weakness and power is the only law. The attack was swift and devastating. Bombardments hammered Ziathra, rending its surface and collapsing, vast underground chambers. But the abyssal core fought back, not with ships or soldiers but by warping reality itself. Rifts swallowed entire battle groups, and strange alien shadows seeped into human technology, corrupting systems and minds. In the chaos, Admiral Maris led a daring boarding mission, aiming to reach the core's heart and sever its link to Vale's cult. Alongside her was Talia, carrying the cure Navarro had devised, a molecular disruptor designed to neutralize the core's biological components. Their descent into Ziathra's depths was a journey through nightmares, twisted corridors alive with biotechnological horrors, where whispers of the lost empire echoed in the darkness. At the core's chamber, Selene confronted Viel, his form now fused with the living machine. "You think you can stop this?" Viel hissed. "We were destroyed because we were weak. Now we are beyond war. We are evolution incarnate. The battle was brutal. Human will against alien power. But with Talia's disruptor deployed, the core began to unravel, its terrible grip loosening. As the weapon died, the rifts collapsed and the galaxy's wounds began to heal, but the victory was hollow. The scars of war, the cost of mercy ignored, and the darkness unleashed remained. Back aboard the Resolute, Selene looked out at the stars, still vast, still dangerous. "We warned them," she whispered. And now the galaxy knew. Humanity was not just a survivor, but a sentinel, a guardian willing to fight, to warn, and if necessary, to destroy. Because, in the vast cold of space, only the strongest endured, and humanity was ready for what came next.